Welcome to the Barbershed Podcast, where we help you to navigate the ups and downs of the business behind the chair and help you to transform a place of burnout that you may be in into thriving success. And this month is Black Business Month. This is August of 2023 at the time of this recording. And this morning we have special guest, Mr. Anthony Davis, in the building with us. Mr. Davis, can you just briefly introduce yourself and who you are and what you're currently doing right now?
Got you. Hey, Michael, thank you. And thank you for having me. And hello to all your guests uh, that are watching. Anthony Davis. I'm not the unibrow, although people jokingly always ask that question, but I've been Anthony Davis for 63 years and married. Uh, my wife is Lisa Davis. We reside in the Washington, D.C. area. We have two adult children. And as of yesterday, uh, May, August 6th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my daughter brought our fifth grandchild into the world, and so
Congratulations.
thank you very much for that. Currently, I've been a coach, a basketball athletic coach, a basketball coach in particular, for over 20 years, about 22 years, and I found myself at the onset of COVID um, needing to pivot, and I went into the process or began the process of becoming a certified coach, life coach, for lack of a better descriptor, because coaching is who I am. My wife often says, like, no, does anyone know your first name? Because most people refer to me as coach. But again, just at this place where I attended the podcast summit down in Miami, Florida last weekend, July 30th and 31st. It was my first experience of something of that nature, and I was just, some apprehension. But what I'm in the process of doing is relaunching an online talk show that I started when COVID began, and then the intent now also too is in addition to the online show, the video, audio, I'm going to take the audio and repurpose it into a podcast as well. So just add that, that additional dimension to it. So I'm just really excited, glad to be here, and just looking forward to the rest of our conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So you've been an athletic coach for a while, and you found the correlation between the athletic coaching and things that your athletes, those that you've trained, how they can take those lessons that you put into them on the basketball court and how they can carry that into life. When uh when did you first like discover that?
Ooh, that's a great question. It just seemed like a natural pivot, to use a basketball term. I'm certified. I got certified through the John Maxwell program. Um, some people may or may not have heard of John Maxwell. Definitely
Mm-hmm.
one of the leading individuals in the area of leadership development.
Yep.
I was introduced to him in a I was doing insurance sales
Mm.
in 2017. We were in Raleigh, North Carolina for our company's annual convention, and John was the keynote speaker for our 3-day event. And just, man, just I had read a couple of his books. I was familiar with his name, of course, read a couple of his books prior to, and it just he resonated with me in such a different way. Like, I don't know that I have ever seen anyone connect with the audience in the way that he did at that particular convention. And so fast forward several years later, a couple years later, I came across the information about his coaching programs. And so I began a dialogue with one of the enrollers and say, okay, this seems like a natural fit, right? Because I didn't start my first basketball coaching experience until I was late. It was late in my life. I was 40 years old. And I would say I stumbled upon it. And so, like this, it just seemed like a natural progression. I've had a lot of success from a basketball coaching standpoint. I've impacted a lot of lives, and I'm not saying, oh, Anthony, you're this great guy, but I've had some successes that, that has definitely been confirmed through social proof, through individuals, through my own family, that this is something that I was wired to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So at before making that transition into getting into life coaching, was there any experiences that you had that made you feel like there has to be more? Do you have, you know, was there any experiences where you was just like, just on this court just isn't enough for these young men or even young women?
I mean, just throughout that journey and through my own life's journey, I think I may have sent you this information previously, but I'm not sure. But part of my journey included battle with substance abuse in my own personal life, and I just saw, throughout that period of time, just a lot of individuals just struggling. And then I came to a place where, okay, I'm on the right track, or I was I believe that you never recover. You're always in the process of recovering.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I reached that recovering point, I just wanted more for my life. I believe in God. I haven't always walked with God in an upright way, and that's just in all transparency.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe even when I wasn't a believer, I believe that God had placed me on this earth for a purpose, and I struggled for a long time, and sometimes I feel like I'm still struggling with what is that purpose at times. But I believe I'm on a good track, the right track. But I'm constantly praying, meditating, and asking God for direction, for to hear that still small voice, to say, Anthony, you all right, you doing okay. And I
Yeah.
believe that's I hear that in my morning meditations and so forth and so on. And so just the success that I had from the coaching standpoint, again, just I've I started off with guys, matriculated to girls, and probably my larger success from a basketball standpoint has been on the girls' side in terms of the number of individuals that I've coached that have gone on to play Division I basketball. I have some kids even now that are currently in college playing Division I at a high level,
Mm-hmm.
and I've impacted a lot of lives along the way. And I know it's probably a long answer to a short question, but
That was good.
probably most recently, I mentioned to you earlier, my son got married in May, and all of his groomsmen I coached at some point in time.
Wow.
And we were in his suite, the morning of the wedding. And they were getting dressed, and we were, conversation, photographs, videographer. And the guys, to a person, it was like, Coach, you were like a father to me. Thank you so much for being a part of my life. Blah, blah, blah. And it was like unexpected, unscripted, like just data dump. And it just moved me in such a way that just like, man, again, affirmation that I've done something good with my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen or witnessed the outcome of an individual who had great potential, but they never had a coach in their life? They never was a part of a team sport or anything like that you may have observed that maybe they did okay in life, but it could have got better, or maybe it didn't go better for them. Maybe it went down the wrong path.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I would say, have I seen individuals like that? I would say yes. And one, as you were stating your question, one individual in particular that comes to mind. I'm not going to call his name,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just struggling right now in life. Um, uh, Good kid, good upbringing, and he did participate in sports to a lesser degree than many that I've come in contact with. But at the present time, just really going through having a hard time. And I feel for him. I feel for his family. I know he's going to be okay. I believe he's going to be okay. But just that, you know, I, I don't know the full story, but I would say probably some negative influences along the way that kind of pulled him in a different direction. And you know, sometimes, you know, we are not always afforded a second chance.
Yeah.
And you know, some do, some don't, and or some can and some, you know, some won't. But at the end of the day, I know he's in good. He's in good hands and he's going to be okay. But that is one, and that's the first time anyone's asked me that question before. So that was a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So for the one that's listening that they really don't get the sport aspect, what are there's this misconception that sometimes coaches are looking for that next big star so
Mm-hmm.
that they can ride that coattail and they can come up along with their athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that is that yeah, you have stuff like that that happens, but it's much bigger than that. Can you explain some of the benefits that young people are able to experience being in a team sport environment under the guidance of a coach?
Man, that's a great follow up question, and now actually that puts the first question in better context for me as well. You know, team sports just overall, it teaches so many things. It teaches sacrifice because, you know, in basketball in particular, there's five guys. The team is a bigger team, right? 10, 12 guys on the team or ladies. Uh, but there's five on the court at any one given time. And as a coach, you know, our goal, our objective is to get those five to operate as a cohesive unit, right? Whether that's on the offensive end, the defensive end, on transition, you know, those are all the different aspects of the game. But communication is key. And I think that's probably the number one key is communication. But sacrificing self for the greater good of the team. Those are things that are at times can be, especially with younger kids, because so much value is placed on. You know, I look at kids. Sometimes I used to tell them like, because the first thing they want to do is look at the scoreboard. How many points did I have? Right. And that's, you
Yeah,
know, a lot of times the parents do feed right into that. Right. You had a good game because they scored X number of points. And I told kids all the time, you could impact the game and not score a point. You can
mm,
rebound, you can assist, you can play good defense, you could do all of those cerebral things that make a difference, that impact. You could take a charge, right? Sacrifice your body for the betterment or for the you know success of the team, and you could impact the game without scoring a point. And so when you translate that to life, I believe is that, you know, first, one of the things that's very important is purpose. And I've been, you know, hearing a lot about purpose. I was listening to something the other day where they were talking statistically about people, their last words before committing suicide or having suicidal ideation. They felt like they had no purpose. Nobody cared.
yeah,
And so when you know, just being in an environment where you have that team aspect, where you have others that's counting on you, you're counting on them. You know they got your back, you got their back. I just think that that's one of the greatest environments to grow in.
yeah. I'm I'm glad you brought that up. So when this month with me dealing with Black Business Month, and the series is called The New Gatekeepers, and traditionally when I come up, I'm an '80s, '90s baby, so I've always heard of these gatekeepers where it was like you had to know somebody to get into certain platforms, into certain industries, certain levels of success. And with recent technology and social media now, we don't you still have gatekeepers, but things are a lot different now. However, there's a lot of beliefs that a lot of business owners have fallen into belief, such as you have to have a huge following, you have to have, this really explosive extrovert personality on front of the camera, and you had to do all these different things to have a level of success. Well, as I began to like look into some of the most common things that stops people from growing a business per se, the four things that came up was a lack of capital, a um, a fear of failure. There was a lack of knowledge and personal skill in a particular area of their business, and there was this constraint of time.
Hmm.
And what I like about what you bring up is that those four problems is I don't have this, I don't have that, and I don't have that. Being a part of a team environment puts you in a position where it cultivates collaboration and being able to work together.
That's good.
Do you think that there is a direct cor- correlation between the person that's always focused on what they don't have and the person that maybe comes from a team environment, uh, and they're used to having to rely on other people? Do you think that there's a correlation that someone can learn from what you have to offer as a coach, that can help them to bring their mindset into like you don't have to do it alone?
Right. No, absolutely. And it's difficult. I mean, I'm experiencing that somewhat now myself. Even having been a coach, is I've been isolated quite a bit. Obviously COVID, but then also too, I am a primary caregiver for my wife who is disabled. So I've spent a
Sorry to hear
lot
that.
of time. No, I appreciate that. I didn't share that with you earlier, um, uh, but I've been isolated quite a bit. I've changed residence
Mm-hmm.
geographically. I was, from the Washington D.C. area, which is where I am now. But I lived in Texas for about 2.5 years, 2018 to 2020, and right at the onset of COVID, right shortly thereafter, we decided to move back to Maryland. But I say that to say, like stepping out into this area of entrepreneurship, of a podcast host, um, of a coach,
Yeah.
not coaching a sport, right? I did that for 20 years. I felt comfortable, right? I knew I had knowledge. I took the time to you mentioned earlier, right? To read and to study and to look at videos and to avail myself or put myself in an environment where I had opportunity to gain mentorship and things of that nature. Um, and that made me better over time. I had a friend of mine tell me, he said, AD, he said, I watched you make yourself into a coach.
Yeah.
Um, Talking about basketball at this time, because I started, again, late in life, and it just really, it took off. It really did take off. But where I am now, there's some limiting beliefs. I've done some studying and reading on the idea of actually become a coach practitioner in the area of imposter syndrome. And I'm wondering, am I
Wow.
enough?
Yeah.
Am I good enough? You mentioned fear of failure. I think fear of success is just as common, maybe not
Yeah.
as much talked about or understood, but that's not a new concept or a new phenomenon. Because I try to process, like, what does that mean? Why would anybody fear success? And what came back to my mind, or what I came up with, is the fact that if I'm successful at this moment, at this endeavor, and then so now there's going to be more required or more expected. And now I
Yeah.
got to be better able to deliver, right? And so, we talk about that ongoing process of personal development, right? Becoming the person that you want to be, or that you want to be. And so, I hope that answered your
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
but
You're good.
it's
You're
just,
good.
it's definitely, I think one of the keys again is just I'm constantly like reading, and now my favorite channel is YouTube, and just coming, just purpose, right? Making a decision. This is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do, and not allowing those negative outside influences, including your family, including your friends, including your own subconscious or conscious or whatever part of your mind that's saying to you, you're not really going to do that thing, are you? But you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like we gotta kind of get to a place where we had a confidence, the self-confidence and the internal fortitude to say, this is what I'm doing. I've made a decision and I'm sticking to it, you know, come hell or high water. If I fail, I fail. And then we'll just go on to the next thing. But I'm not going to not try.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I want to do something a little ambitious. It may or may not work. The entrepreneur, the one that's starting the business. So let's use me for an example. I'm a barber, I'm a hairstylist, and I have a vision for my business. If this was to correlate to basketball, what position would I be in?
Ew, that's difficult because, you know, basketball is kind of skill and physical
Mm-hmm.
aspects, you know,
Yep. No, but
related. But I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna
yep.
put you at the point guard. I'm gonna put you at the
Put me at
point
the
guard.
point guard, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
As
sir.
a as a point guard, can I win the game by myself?
No, you cannot.
Who is the first person that I need to rely on?
I would say the coach.
I need to rely on the coach, all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And why do I need to rely on the coach?
I believe, and this is coming from somebody. To your question, the coach in this scenario sees the game differently than what you see than you see the
Yeah.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Their vision, their concept, their ideology, their understanding is different than
Mm-hmm.
yours.
That's good.
It's possible that it would mesh, hopefully, prayerfully, you know, over time it will mesh, especially at the point guard. What do you often hear sportscasters say? The point guard is the coach on the floor,
Uh-huh.
right? And so that's when you see that connectivity, that cohesiveness that exists between that player, that point guard and the coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's good. Now now the coach, he sees the game on a bigger scale. And
Mm-hmm.
he has his main player, his coach on the floor, which is the point guard. From a coach's perspective, who is that next person that you're looking for?
Ooh, 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 ooh. Well, you know, I'm older school than you. So they used to, you know, they always used to say you had to have a big man, but somebody that's going to do the dirty work,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's going to rebound, that can shut down the best offensive players. So somebody that's going to grind out on the defensive end, somebody that's going to be unselfish. You know, the guy that doesn't care about how many points he gets or she gets. They're more concerned about what can I contribute to the success of the team.
Yeah,
That would
yeah,
be the next person that I look for.
yeah, yeah. That's good. So one of the things that I learned that I didn't have in business that whether I did the role myself or whether I had somebody else in team is that there was a point in time in my career that I always wanted to show how good I was. Look at how great this haircut was. Look at how much money that I made. But I didn't have
Mm,
systems in place to do the dirty work, to build the foundations of the business, to run the entities, to do the bookkeeping, to make sure that the business is running like a well-oiled machine so that when taxes were due, I made sure I had that paid. When bill collectors was looking for their payments, I made sure that there was enough cash flow coming in to take care of all the expenses because I was so busy trying to shine. So
mm.
that's the position that I see as the big man in business. You either need to put on that hat of like the defense, or you need to have somebody in place in the business, some type of strategic partnership or whatever, to make sure that the back end is running like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Um, on the defensive end, what is the next player that you're looking for, and what is their role? What do they do?
If I can, Michael, just take 1 second to your
Yeah,
last
go
point.
ahead.
I think too that speaks to when you talked about the lack of capital being one of those things that could, you know, make or
Mm-hmm.
break a
I,
business. When you talk about the guy with the dirty work, with that other hat, right? You know, a lot of times it takes capital in order to put those type of people in place, you know, from a business standpoint.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm learning, man. Like I did a short video, uh, kind of summary of my trip to Miami. It's just 2 minutes, but I did it myself. Whereas I had paid somebody to create my intro for me, for my upcoming podcast. But I say that to say is like, and they mentioned it during one of the sessions. Like sometimes you may have to be that person that wears all those different hats, but hopefully and prayerfully over time you can position yourself to be able to afford, to put people in place that's going to strategically help you propel your business forward.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
And
That's
so
good.
to your next question, my next player would be someone who can score the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the object of the game? To
Yeah.
win. And
Yep.
right. And so in order to win, man, you gotta outscore the opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So, what position is that for those that are not basketball fanatics?
Well, from a basketball perspective, that could be one of two players, either your shooting guard or your
Mm-hmm.
small forward, usually because they're more, they're typically a little bit more ball skilled, if that makes sense. They're able to put the ball on the floor, but then they also can shoot the ball from different areas, different spots on the floor, whether that be perimeter or interior, in most cases. And so the more versatile players tend to be your two guard and your three guard,
Yeah.
or your small forward. How that translate into business? Go ahead. I'll pass. I'll
So,
pass
I'm
the
gonna ask
ball.
you, what's the difference between the shooting guard and the small guard?
This small. When you say difference, I would say probably more than anything. Again, is uh, the physical makeup of that person typically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from a skill standpoint, they're pretty balanced, I think. Usually, your shooting guard, maybe a little smaller in stature than your small forward. But
Yep.
other than that, I can't think of anything. Give me now you got me thinking. Um, I think that's pretty much it. Both are versatile.
Mm-hmm.
Your shooting guard usually focuses on shooting more than anything else, right? They're your jump shooter, your 3-point shooter.
Yep.
Your small forward again is a little bit more versatile, inside, outside. They have a little bit
Yeah.
more versatility, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So I
Mm-hmm.
remember coming up in business that I always wanted to show how good my haircut was or how good my hairstylist was. And I thought I was just going to do a haircut and people was just going to come flooding into the barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of days just sitting, not doing anything because I never knew and understood the purpose of marketing, getting out there and marketing and advertising the business. I always just kind of just sat and wait. And from my understanding of like the game, and you can correct me where I'm wrong, the shooting guard and the small forward, they're a little bit more on the active, more they're more proactive in the approach and the way that they play the game. They're not
Mm-hmm.
just sitting and waiting. You have like the
That's
point
cool.
guard. He's controlling the pace and he's reading the floor and knowing where to distribute things
Mm-hmm.
where to distribute the ball. But the shooting guard and in the small forward, they're them the ones they maintain in like the buckets most of the time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good.
So
That's a good
so
analogy.
so when I'm looking at how to put people in my chair now, sometimes it's going to be indirect marketing, right? I'm going to be on social media. I'm going to be putting up posts that are bringing in customers into the business. And then sometimes when I need to get a little aggressive and I need to fill my seat up right away, I'll do direct marketing. That would be right
Mm-hmm.
in my email marketing. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on social media. And what I see a lot of times in black businesses is that they put up a sign, hey, I got this for sale. And they feel this entitlement that because they put up a sign, they put up one post that I have a business, they feel this entitlement that people are going to just come.
Flop. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that as a coach, do you think that sometimes younger players see all the glitz and glamours of their favorite athlete, and they're trying to emulate their favorite athlete, whether it's the Steph Currys or uh, you know whoever it is that they watch.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they go after the shine and they don't really put in the work? And what would be the difference in their performance if they just put in the work and really got down into the fundamentals?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I think about I was recruiting some middle school. I was invited to a middle school AAU practice once, and one of the parents, after the practice was over, and we had like this little meet and greet, and one of the parents asked me, he's like, Coach, what can I do? What can I do for my daughter to help her be prepared for high school? And that's exactly, you used the word fundamentals. I said the best thing that she could work on to help her get better is to work on fundamentals, no matter what. I don't care how good you are. I watched a video recently when Kobe Bryant, the late great Kobe Bryant, was in training camp with the Lakers, and they were doing drills that we did in middle school, ball handling drills and things of that nature. I'm like, they doing that in the NBA? Like, it really does. It's been a little while ago, obviously, but it just confirmed for me the necessity of being really good, fundamentally sound, and then all those other things can come into play. You mentioned Steph Curry, and that's as a coach, as coaches, at being in a room with other coaches. One of the things that I've heard repeatedly is like one of the worst things ever invented was the 3-point line, because what you see is kids come in the gym and the first thing they doing is jacking up, shooting from 3-point line, and their shooting form is terrible. Their mechanics are terrible. You know what I mean? They're making all of these, the physical manifestation, I guess, of getting the ball up to the rim, but it's not fundamentally sound from a basketball standpoint. And so, again, fundamentals, man, in anything, no matter what, I believe is key to anybody's success. Someone said recently, he said, like, in order to build high, you got to drill down, you got to dig deep
Yeah.
first in order to
Mm-hmm.
have the support that you need to go high. And unfortunately, we live in a society today, and no judgment, but we want instant gratification.
Yep.
We want the kudos, we want the likes on social media, we want the followers, but we fail to understand, and especially young people, because they're so influenced by what they see and hear. We all can be at times. Again, no indictment on young people, but uh, this instant gratification, like, you don't know what Kobe Bryant did, every day,
Yeah.
before he even played high school basketball. He tells
Yeah.
a story about how he didn't go out and party, and he was in his family room just dribbling the ball. He dribbled himself to sleep. He said he slept with his ball. I think he's one of several, I should say. Michael Jordan, another one. LeBron James too. They compare those three all the time, but I'm gonna just throw them out there. But all of those guys, none of us can say, looking from the outside, we have no idea what those guys did day in, day out, night in, night out, in the very beginning of their playing careers, to help propel them to where they, to those plateaus that they achieved throughout their careers.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And just to kind of like bring it back in for those that are listening, like the correlation that I'm making is that just like you mentioned, like we don't know their work ethic behind the scenes. And one
Right.
of the things that I've learned in business is that what really helped me to sustain my business and make me profitable and make me grow was when I got back to the basics, the fundamentals. Marketing is not optional. It's not something that you can kind of do it or not do it. You
Mm-hmm.
have to keep marketing because your clientele and your customer base will change. People's circumstances change, people move on, and you have to always keep the pipeline full with new leads and new prospects. And
Amen.
then you get to the point where you're physically not able to do the work. So you need to bring in new and fresh talent all the time, and to keep them stable, and you have to keep new people in the pipeline all the time. And then branding is different than marketing. Branding is establishing your identity within the market. So if
Mm-hmm.
you haven't spent time learning who you are as a business owner, what your position is, how you affect the market, if you don't know who your identity is in the business, you have subjected yourself to letting the market control who you are, and
Wow.
just run a mark of just, trashing your identity and your name.
That.
Now, the point guard controls the pace. He distributes the ball, takes a shot when needed, and sometimes you do have to flex a little bit as a business owner and reestablish who you are and what you have to offer in this market. But there's one more position that we haven't named just yet, which is this power forward. Can you take a moment to just, what is the purpose and the goal of this power forward? What does he do on the court? He or she?
Power forward. Usually your enforcer, as I like to say, someone again that's going to do the dirty work, but it's going to, really rebound the basketball. And that's key, right? Possession of the ball, is vital, right? Defensively, the other team shoots, um, you know, getting that defensive rebound is key.
Yeah.
Because the more possession, the more you possess the ball, the more opportunities you have to score, right? Same thing offensively, right? If I can control the offensive boards, if I can get that offensive rebound there, that gives me an extra possession. That gives me another opportunity to score, score the ball. And so I would say that power forward really is the guy or the young lady again, because I've done both, and so I think it's vital to mention both. Is that person that's really again sacrificial in there. They may not they may not score a lot of points, they may not be that skilled necessarily, but they are that person that's going to do the dirty work. They're going to play good defense on the inside. They're going to man the paint, as we like to say, right?
Yeah.
Control the paint, the inside, where I believe the battle is won or lost,
Yeah.
is in the
That's
paint.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm kind of glad that we did this. Here's why. For most of my career, I went wherever the market was taking me. One moment I'm doing all haircuts, next moment I'm doing high tops and afros, and the next thing I'm doing the twist, and and I just kind of just went however the market was going. I just kind of just let business happen to me, and I just accepted things as the way that they were. I've been a really popular barber in Chicagoland, had a huge clientele, but I never actually was in control. And it
Mm,
wasn't until 2016 when I learned the importance of, one, having a mentor and a coach. So I do have both. I have several mentors, and I do have like business coaching. But it wasn't until I implemented and start activating a actual business plan.
mm,
That business plan was to help me to like regain control of how the flow of my business was. When I felt like
mm,
I was losing control and sales was down, I went back and I referred back to my business plan to see, am I on track with what I set my mission out to be? Am I on track with the direction of my business, or am I letting outside voices control me? So when we talk about that power forward, I always look now as my business plan as that power forward position. And my business coach helps me to always refer back to my business plan to make sure I am on track in the direction I need to go, and then to constantly reevaluate to see, are there adjustments that need to be made in my business,
mm-hmm.
because is there a new direction that I need to go? So my question to you is that, as a coach, have you ever had to make adjustments to the original plan that you had?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You come out. One of my one of my duties is, in one of my coaching paths was I used to scout, and
Mm-hmm.
I would go see a future opponent play, in another game, and pay attention to certain things, and we would create a game plan around that information, right? This is their best player. This our player X is going to guard their player Y. Like we just based on position, based on skill set, so forth and so on. But oftentimes, a lot of times, not that's why I was thinking as you asked the question. Like I love the game of basketball because unlike life and other sports have this as well, but unlike life, there's no timeouts, right? You got to keep going, right? But we
Yep.
could call a timeout and we say, "Oh, wait a minute, right? This, that, we game plan this." But that's not, something else is happening. And so we need to make those adjustments on we can call that 30-second or 60-second timeout and
Mm-hmm.
make that adjustment. Or we go into the locker room at halftime and we can make that adjustment and we can come out and then, continue to move forward. From a business standpoint, I think it can be difficult. I know my father used to say this all the time. He's like, once you get on that hamster wheel, you got to keep running. But I think the reality for us, right, is we gotta find a way, make a way. We had to be intentional about taking those pauses, like you said, to reevaluate. Am I on track? Is my business plan functioning, working? Is my business going the way that I intended it for it to go? Or do I need to make a tweak here or there? Do I need to do something different? Do I need to bring in someone, someone off the bench to fill in that gap? And I think that, it's necessary, although difficult, it is necessary to take those pauses, to be intentional, um, from time to time, whatever it takes, when you find yourself where you may be frustrated or things, again, are not happening like the way you thought it should, to make those adjustments, to make those tweaks, to right the ship and to continue moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And as small business owners like myself, as we try to implement those like moments where we just take a time and pause, um, can we reach out to someone like yourself that's getting into the life coaching space and and get perspective and direction from someone like you?
Yeah, absolutely. I heard you say I'm definitely available for that purpose, and I heard you say you have coach. I think one of the keys is really recognizing is really looking at your inside yourself and just saying, I don't know this.
Yeah.
I don't understand this, and that's okay. Because I think sometimes we especially as men, we can be prideful.
Mm-hmm.
Our egos can be bigger than our, very, just huge egos, and we just think we got to do it by ourselves. And I just think, like you said, to come to that realization that I'm on the right path, but every now and then I may need to take a look at this or have someone help me to help. Hey, what do you think? What do you think about this? What can I do to kind of move things around a little bit and move into a different, better direction?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. So for those that don't know exactly what a coach does, what a life coach does,
Mm-hmm.
what particular skills are you able to offer a person to help them move along?
Wow. I think the biggest skill is listening.
Yeah.
The biggest skill is listening. They don't teach listening. You learn how to read, you learn how to write, you learn a lot of things in school, but no one teaches you how to listen. And so I think listening first and foremost is key. Being compassionate and empathetic towards another person, um, being understanding, and being able to communicate. I mentioned communication earlier. That's key, right? Because communication, listening is part of communication. It's two-way, right?
Yeah.
in order for me to hear, what's going on, where do you want to be? So that's the question I would ask someone if they came to me for coaching. What is your goal? What are your aspirations? Where do you see yourself in 2-3 years from now, in 6 months from now, 90
Yeah.
days from now?
Yeah.
And then what do we need to, and we work, coaching is not counseling. It is not consulting. It's really coming alongside of a person and assisting them to really to really come to a place of understanding that's within themselves,
Yeah.
right? I believe each one of us, though we may struggle with something, we have the answer. Sometimes we just need some help
Yeah.
pulling that answer out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what coaching, I believe, is.
Yeah. Coach Davis, this was great. I feel like I want to have you like come back like pretty often and maybe deal with individuals like scenarios so that people maybe can hear like maybe some live coaching from you if you're up to it.
Absolutely. I mean, I would, yes, I would love to stay connected with you, Michael, and I would look forward to the opportunity to engage
Yeah.
at a
So
future time.
how can people follow your journey and get in tune with your podcast once you have it all launched and going?
Sure. My website is dynamiccoachingconcepts.com. On all socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Coach AD
Mm,
Trains, Trains. And then on YouTube is Coach AD TV.com. And so those are all my and also I'm sorry, and then my email is Anthony, my first name, at dynamiccoachingconcepts.com as well.
that's good. That's good. You
Mm-hmm.
have any closing words for us? For us?
Michael, man, I think you're doing a tremendous work here. You mentioned legacy, man. I think you just struck a chord with me with that. I believe that is so important, especially as men of color in particular. That our younger people need to see us out front, see us leading, see us speaking, see us coaching, see us being business owners, entrepreneurs, whatever it is, man. Whatever you choose to do, whatever you decide to do it, right? Don't have any reservation. Don't have any hesitation. And I know it's easier said than done, but it can be done.
Yeah.
And I believe your success, your contentment, and your happiness is dependent upon that.
That's good. That's good. Coach Davis, I appreciate you coming through and just really helping me with my ambitious idea to kind of correlate the necessity of having a team around you, whether it's actual people or systems in place to build a solid business. Because, like you said, the point guard can't win it by himself.
Absolutely. Good
I
stuff, man.
I
Thank,
appreciate you.
thank you, Mike. I appreciate you as well, brother.
Okay, thank you again. We'll talk soon.
Okay.